Hey guys, how would you answer these three interview questions right here? You wanna find out? Stick around and I'll tell you on this episode of Journey to Tech with Courage. Hey guys, I am so glad that you could join me today. Today we're going to be talking about some interview questions that you may encounter when you go for an entry-level software QA analyst role. This one is going to be very interesting, so pay keen attention as we go through this. Are you ready? Let's go! Let's with our first one. What is the difference between black box testing and white box testing? This is a basic question that all software testers should know the answer to. To answer this question, you'd simply recall the definition of black box testing and white box testing. Black box testing focuses on the functionality of the applications from a user perspective, whereas white box testing focuses on testing of the software's internal components such as the code. Black box testing, in this type of testing, you focus on the application from a user perspective. Does it achieve the functionality that the user wants and how they would use it? Whereas in white box testing, you're typically testing the code to make sure it is sound. So you'd have techniques such as statement coverage. In this testing, you ensure that you test each line of code in the application. You also have what is called branch coverage, which tests the code to ensure that all decision points in that code are working correctly as well. So, black box testing is more focused on testing from a user perspective, whereas white box testing focuses on testing the internal structure of the application. On to the next question. How would you test a new feature that has been added to existing software? Would you answer the question like this? I would test to ensure that the new feature works correctly and that it suits the user's requirements and is as free from defects as much as possible. Would you just stop there? Think about it for a moment. If you just stop there, you would not have totally answered the question. Note what the question asks. It asks about a new feature that was added to existing software. This is what I would say when I'm answering this question. I would test to ensure that the new feature functions correctly according to the user's requirements and also that it is as free from defects as much as possible. Additionally, I would also check critical existing features to ensure that they're still working correctly after this new feature was introduced. Because sometimes when new features are introduced, there is a risk that existing functionalities can be broken. So, I would incorporate testing the new feature to ensure that it suits the user's requirements and also test existing features to ensure that they still function correctly with this new feature added. This is how you could answer this question. Another question. How would you test a mobile application? There are several things that you can include in your answer. First off, you would include in your answer that you would ensure that the mobile application satisfies the user requirements on the device that you're using. Additionally, you should also include that you want to ensure that the application satisfies the user requirements based on the devices that your customers use the most, and also based on the devices that are most popular in the world today. You want to ensure that it works consistently across these types of devices. Another thing to include is that you want to ensure that the mobile application works consistently if it is connected on Wi-Fi versus mobile data. And expounding on mobile data connections, another thing to include in your answer is that you would test to ensure that the application can work consistently in areas where the data signal is spotty as well as in areas where there is data signal but there's high demand for the data service. Other tests to bring up in your answer would include security testing to ensure that it is least susceptible to security attacks or malicious attacks. Another thing to include is performance testing to ensure that the application can still hold up and satisfy the user requirements even if there's a spike in the number of persons that are using the application. So these are some things that you can include in your answer to this question. Final question. Do you have knowledge or experience with test automation tools? This question is very important because in this day and age, software is being delivered faster, and as a result, software testing has had to evolve and become faster as well. That is why they rely on test automation in order to speed up the testing process while still being able to ensure high quality of the application. To answer this question, if you have knowledge but don't necessarily have the experience, still mention the tools that you have knowledge of. If the tools that you have knowledge of would be Catalan Studio, mention it. If the tool is Selenium IDE, mention it and mention what you've learned about it. If you have the experience as well, even if it is a small amount of experience, mention it. So for example, in my case, I have knowledge of Selenium WebDriver with Python. What I've been able to use it to do in my experience is to test reports to ensure that the totals are being calculated correctly. Additionally, I was able to write a script using this tool recently to ensure that the headers in a report match the exported documents accurately. So any little experience with test automation tools that you have, no matter how small, mention it, because you never know, it might give you an edge in the interview. And if you don't have experience as yet, but you have the knowledge, still mention it, so that they can at least know that you have the knowledge. And if it's especially a tool that they use in the workplace, they say, okay, this person has the knowledge, we can put him or her on this project, and he or she could be able to come up to speed pretty quickly. So if you have just the knowledge, mention it. If you have the experience, mention the tool that you have knowledge of and how you've been able to use that tool to improve efficiency in software testing, no matter how small the experience. Well, my friends, that's a wrap for today. I know there are many software testing questions out there, but I just thought I'd cover a few in the interest of time. However, if you would like me to cover some more, please indicate in the comments below and I'll gladly cover them for you. Also, please indicate if you found this helpful by giving a like as well as a comment. And additionally, if you found this very beneficial, please feel free to forward to your friends and subscribe to my channel. Thanks again for joining me, and tune in for the next episode of Journey to Tech with Craig. See you soon!